Can San Jose pull out another 7-game series? I don't think so. I think St. Louis Blues win this series. I think they go on to represent the West in the Stanley Cup Final. Yeah, Boston's going to be a really, really hard team to beat. So yeah, I got Boston moving on to represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Final. What can I say? Not too shabby. 3 for 8 in the first round, 1 for 4 in the second, but coming back strong with 2 for 2 in the conference finals. That deserves a golf clap. I mean, that's what I'm doing nowadays, so it makes sense. I will admit that my conference final picks were more of jinx picks. I really much rather seen the San Jose Sharks and the Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup Final just for sanity's sake, but that's not happening. Apparently, trying to outsmart jinxing doesn't work. It ends up backfiring, actually. So, yeah, I think I have a better strategy for my Stanley Cup Final pick. And speaking of which, welcome to my Stanley Cup Final preview video, the Boston Bruins versus the St. Louis Blues. Basically, my worst case scenario when the playoffs started. But here we are. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, we have to acknowledge just the ridiculous ride that these playoffs have been up until now. Just absolutely insane. First round, not a single division winner moves on. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The Tampa Bay Lightning, who won a historic amount of games, the insanely talented Tampa Bay Lightning, gets swept in the first round. Wild card chaos. Then you got the Carolina Hurricanes just being a bunch of jerks and making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Final. The East itself was just absolutely ridiculous. You have the Islanders sweeping the Penguins, and then the Hurricanes sweeping the Islanders, and then the Bruins sweeping the Hurricanes. Just like, what's going on? And now we have a Stanley Cup Final where the St. Louis Blues are in it for the first time since 1970, and the city of Boston is looking for their first championship since about 100 days ago. Like, could you get any more polar opposite? The St. Louis Blues just with an absolutely fascinating season, right? Beginning of the year, after the offseason moves they made, especially after acquiring O'Reilly, you're like, this team on paper, they're contenders. They're contenders. You just had two things that really kind of hung you up. You had Mike Yeo as a coach. You're like, yeah, they're not going to make a Stanley Cup Final with him. And then you had Jake Allen in net. You're not going to make a Stanley Cup Final with him. Like, sorry, it's just not going to happen. And guess what happens? January, they're in last place in the league. And then what happens? Mike Yeo gets relieved of his duties, and then Jordan Binnington comes out of nowhere. Well, not really out of nowhere, but figuratively out of nowhere, relieving Jake Allen of his duties, and look where they are. In the Stanley Cup Final, basically right around where they should have been this entire year. On the other hand, you have the Bruins with a little less traveled of a story. Top 5 team in the league, some would argue top 3. The entire year, you knew they'd make the playoffs. You knew they would make it to the second round because, let's face it, you knew they were going to beat Toronto in 7 games. It was just a given. It really was. But with Tampa Bay having the season that they were having and being in the same division, let alone the same conference as the Bruins, it was hard to see the Bruins be where they are right now. But with the way the playoffs played out, Boston didn't even have to face Tampa. But even if they would have had to, it might not have mattered because Tuukka Rask has had just an absolutely incredible postseason run. He has carried this team at times, and it seems like he's gotten stronger as the playoffs have gone on. He is by far my Conn Smythe front runner, and if the Bruins win the cup, I would be absolutely shocked if he's not holding that trophy as well. So you got the Blues and the Bruins. Two teams play a fairly similar style of hockey. Hard-nosed, they're going to hit you. This should be a pretty fun and physical series. Now, Tuukka Rask and Jordan Binnington have both played phenomenal in these playoffs. I think they're both going to play well in the Stanley Cup Final. I think the difference in this series is going to be the teams in front of them. Now, the Bruins, I would argue, it should be fairly clear. They're the better team here. They certainly have the better top line, but the Blues are no slouch either, and their fourth line has just been absolutely killer in these playoffs. And the Blues, they have this attitude right now, this confidence, like they're playing with house money, right? In January, where they were, like they shouldn't be here. So the Blues, if they want it more, and it seems like they kind of do right now, if they come out and want this series more than the Bruins could be in trouble. Now with that out of the way, I think it's now time for my pick, the Stanley Cup. Who is going to be hoisting it over their heads when it's all said and done? Will it be the Blues for the first time ever, or will it be the Bruins for the first time since 2011? That is the question. Thankfully, I have the answer. Here's how this series is going to play out. It's going to go exactly 6 games. No more, no less. In fact, as an insurance policy, if it doesn't go exactly 6 games, which it will, I will do a jersey giveaway. Now, you really shouldn't be looking forward to that because it's not going to happen. The series is going 6 games. But just keep it in mind, all right? In terms of teams, here's where my new Jinx strategy pick comes in. Hear me out. Lockout. Huh? Right? Let's just get it out of the way. We got Seattle coming into the league. We got to be prepared. We don't need this looming over our heads. Let's just get it out of the way. Batman, owners, hear me out. We've had a lot of fun these playoffs. We've had a lot of fun. It's been crazy. We don't really need another round. We can all move on. We don't really need the Stanley Cup to be handed out. A lot of us are already in summer. I mean, the weather's not, but we're there. Others can move on too. Like, it's really not that bad. So come on. Lockout, please. But for real, here's my pick. Here's who's going to win in 6 games. Boston Bruins. Rematch in 1970, same result, except for the fact that it's going to be 6 instead of 4 games, and Blackhawks legend Bobby Orr won't be scoring the game-winning overtime, cup-winning goal. Otherwise, it's pretty much exactly the same. So, Boston Bruins, congratulations on another cup. And with that said, thank you so much for watching my Stanley Cup Final preview and prediction video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate that as always. But most importantly, stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time.